Welcome to Freda Chando Analysis, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for your continued support. I really appreciate you. Do you think we should have special orientation seminars for our leaders immediately we elect them into offices? Because it looks like our leaders are still enjoying their political honeymoon long after we elected them in August. Led by the topmost office in State House and the Deputy President, they have continued to heap a lot of blames to the former regime, even as Kenyans are begging them to stop reminding them of the Uhuru regime who has gone. And Kenyans are saying that you now have the sword and the mandate, you are at the helm of Kenyan affairs. But this fell into dead ears, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly subscribe to our channel if you're here for the first time and click the notification bell. I want to request you in a special way to like our videos, because the more you like a video, the more its ratings will go up and YouTube will automatically recommend them for more viewing. There has been a conversation around our Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. Very many Kenyans feel that he has refused to wake up from a very good sweet slumber after the elections. And they are reading the mood of the Deputy President, and they are trying to compare him to the running mate before the August elections, and now the Deputy President, who has an office, who has a deputy presidential residence, and someone who is paid by taxpayers' money. And it is very unfortunate that they took over power in a very, as in his own very words, that they inherited a dilapidated economy. It started by all this that they will, lower the prices of basic commodities. They will fight insecurity. They will ensure that they give proper changes even into the police sector. There were a lot of things, the Hustlers Fund, all the promises that they gave to Kenyans. And it's always very normal, starting from the MCA all the way to the presidency. Whenever our leaders want us to vote them in, they will always promise heaven. And I was talking to a friend who was telling me that by the end of the day, you will realize that they cannot even deliver hell. Now, we understood all this when they were telling us what they would do, and they accused the former regime. At one point, our deputy president accused the former president of even trying to plot some malice against his family. But after taking oath of office, it is a common practice and a very healthy office practice that you forget the past and you move on, because when you get stuck into the past, then it will not allow you to look into the future. And maybe experts feel that this is the reason why Kenya is struggling with a myriad of challenges. Shortage of food and skyrocketing of basic commodities and drought and everything. You can name every problem. Wakenya wanavumilia badala ya kujivunia kuwa Wakenya. And so the conversation is viral. You go to Twitter, they are telling Mr. President to just try and wake up. And I was listening to some of the arguments. They are saying that maybe the Honorable Mr. Gachagua is not that bad. It is only that he still feels that by accusing the former regime, that will cover for the mess. That will cover for everything that has happened. They feel that they started on a very wrong foot. I could mention the minister in the office of education, who said that they will stop funding public universities. Then came Minister of Trade, the controversial Gatundu, the former Gatundu member of parliament, who said now they will ban Mitumba, going against the Hustler Nation, everything that has been happening. And now our deputy president continues telling people that the nation was under state capture, yet they are the state today. there was a conversation that was going on. Mr. Orengo, the Siaya governor, said very categorically that the cases that have been drawn against Mr. Rigathi Gachagua are withdrawn because he is the deputy president, period. And Mr. Orengo was arguing that if these cases were leveled against someone who is not an officer, who is not friendly to the Kenya Kwanza regime, then maybe he would have fallen victim of being jailed. And Mr. Orengo is saying that we can take a good example from what happened to this former Syriza member of parliament. He was given about 60 years, and is a very old man. I even remember the Azimio leader, Mr. Raila, who also aired his views and said that giving such an old man 60 years is like you want to kill him. And so, ladies and gentlemen, our deputy president has grabbed headlines for every negative reason. Because if he's not talking about Raila Odinga, he's talking about Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Every time he speaks, the words are very controversial. We all understand that whenever there is a change in someone's life, there is a period that they take to accept. The acceptance period, in fact, sometimes when it's something that is not very palatable in your life, there is that denial period where you don't believe it is you who is going through the same. But for how long can our leaders admit that they have not accepted that they are in power? Our deputy president continues to remind us very constantly that he does not believe that the very, very officers who used to knock at his doorstep on Fridays with the intention of apprehending him to take him to a police station to spend a weekend there are the very, very policemen who are now giving him security, escorting him and, saluting him. And I was just thinking, should this not be an impetus to allow him to work? Because if it's true that you suffered and you believe that the former president was solely responsible for your predicaments, and now you are there enjoying everything. If it was state capture, you are now the state. Can't this really be a motivation to him? It is the question that Kenyans are asking. Are we reading too much? Usually, I just want to pause and ask you, do you think some are reading too much about Mr. Rigathi Gachagua? If you are, because someone was asking on Twitter that, how can you rate your deputy president? Because I know that office, the presidency, is the president and the deputy president. But we want to narrow down to the deputy president because he is, notorious about this. How can you rate your deputy president? In a scale of 1, because I don't want to start with 0, in a scale of 1 to 10, how much will you give him in terms of the performance? You can rate him based on the responsibility that was given by the president. Because I remember when they were forming the cabinet, there had been this talk that in the past, there was a kind of disagreement. There were not clear-cut responsibilities for the deputy president. And therefore, many accused our former deputy president, who's now the president, of trying to sabotage his boss, of trying to overdo, to do things more than his boss. And people were saying that one of the laws that you should not overpower your master, that he was a bit active compared to his boss. So the president, Mr. William Ruto, decided that he never wanted a repeat of the same thing. So he made it very clear that there were responsibilities that I don't know whether we say that they are entrenched somewhere in a document, all the responsibilities of the deputy president. And I remember Mr. Gachagua also supporting this, and he was saying that William Ruto will be flying out to look for money and will be leaving him with the internal affairs to manage. But I don't think that William Ruto can leave everything in the hands of Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. Because I remember there was a time immediately after they took oath of office, the president flew to, I think there was that burial of the former Queen Elizabeth, and then he proceeded to the USA. That very period our deputy president had gone and was saying that he had allowed people to go and invade Mau, to cultivate. They were going to cultivate that land, and people were wondering. We are struggling with environmental changes, and in fact, the other day, a few days ago, the president attended a climate summit somewhere was it in the US or in Egypt somewhere, and so the world is now struggling to conserve the already dilapidated environment. Yet the deputy president was telling people to go back to Mao. When there was a lot of uproar, he came back and said that I was misquoted. Now he's saying that all the cases that were leveled against the Kenya Kwanza officers should be dropped because they were pegged on falsehood and political witch hunt. If you listen to our deputy president, he has not settled down to start working for Kenyans. He's supposed to play a supportive role to the president of Kenya. But when you look at him, he is on his own world. He's still enjoying the campaigns, and the campaigns are over. Our deputy president is called upon by Kenyans. And in fact, I was reading one of the tweets that we should start a conversation, #Mr. Deputy President, start working, support your boss so that you implement all the Big Four agenda? The Big Four agenda was in the previous regime. The Hustlers Fund, of course, we were told it is free. Now it is going to excite a lot of charges there. Prices of food, we have to give another 1 year. Affordable housing, clean water, everything that you talked about will not be achieved if we continue to campaign. And our president, who's the boss, is not left out. He caused a storm the other day when he was saying that we will be waiting for 1 year for us to start enjoying ile unga alikuwa ametuambia itarudi chini, lakini anatuambia in less than 1 year tutakuwa na simu zetu ambazo zimetengenezwa hapa Kenya that will cost less than 5,000. And it trickles down to priorities. Do you think this government is working on priority? Between a phone and food, which one comes first? I know that it is very important because as a means of communication and a mode of communication, phones are very much important. But which one comes first? And the last thing, ladies and gentlemen, this government is being called upon to stop being obsessed by trying to paint the former regime in bad faith. In their eyes, ladies and gentlemen, everything that was initiated and perpetuated and completed by the former regime is wrong, and they want to thwart and start their own. Unfortunately, they do away with some of these things, but they do not give an alternative. I don't want to repeat the food subsidies and the kazi mtaani and everything that was started by the former regime. Isn't it time that we call upon our government to rise up, to wake up from their slumber, to wake up from their political honeymoon so that they can get down to working, not giving promises. Promises were given during the campaigns. Everything has got its own time. Everything has a season. It is time to get down and implement the promises. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. I don't know what you think. Thanks for watching.